Duality exists in all things. Yin and yang, life and death, masculine and feminine, negative and positive, hot and cold, light and shadow, spirit and matter, right and wrong, good and bad, holy and evil. Duality is the spice of life and has been part of the cosmos since its inception. In the natural realm, these polar opposites not only exist alongside one another, they also intertwine. They harmonize to create a third expression, something beautiful, something unique, something true. Honey, for example, can only manifest through an alchemical union between nectar and honeybees. Their foragers gather the needed nectar from flowering plants, and upon returning to the hive, mix it with an enzyme found within the bee itself. Afterwards, it is placed within a cell found within the colony's honeycomb, where it is then fanned, covered, and stored for later use. The end result is a thick, sticky, and sweet golden yellow substance many life forms go nuts over. Not only is honey sweet, it also has many health benefits. Honey is a symbol of sweetness, delight, and wealth. Those who enjoy it are often entranced by its deliciousness. In fact, the anticipation of tasting it alone can bring one into a state of ecstatic bliss. In life, we strive to create this experience, a third expression only obtained through the combination of what is inside and outside the self. Bees may possess the unique tools to create honey, but they still require the nectar, a source that can only be gathered from flowering plants outside the home. When a plant is flowering, that means it is open and vulnerable, as opposed to being concealed and hidden. It flowers to reproduce and needs neighbors like the bee to ensure success. So what does this all have to do with soul loss and soul retrieval? Well, what if I told you that we are all beekeepers and our core purpose is to look after our own hive? What hive, might you ask? Why, the hive of the soul, of course. Believe it or not, souls are quite similar to beehives. Within them are many honeybees we of the shamanic world call soul pieces. Shards and fragments that fit together perfectly to complete the puzzle that is the soul. Through these fragments, we possess the innate built-in resources to create our own unique expression of honey, our own sweetness and delight. Yet, just like the honeybee must forage outside the bee's nest for nectar, we too must venture outside ourselves and experience life and worlds beyond us to gather such resources. And just like the honeybee must return to the honeycomb to make the honey, we too must return home to the soul, with resources in hand, our mouth, to create our own unique definition of true happiness and wealth, the third expression. Life is a dance, a conversation, an interaction, an exchange, and intercourse. Without it, we cannot grow, we do not flourish. Unfortunately, many of us live at odds with ourselves, choosing one aspect over the other, never realizing how we are a central entity playing between both sides to make that golden sweetness we so crave in our own lives exactly the way we envision it. The objective is to get centered, not to detach from duality, but to integrate it, to take our place as what we already are, the third expression. The same polar opposites that exist in every other part of the cosmos exists in and around us. We ourselves are the culmination of balance between these opposites, and it's only when we choose to take sides and station ourselves in either opposite space that we create imbalance, and our true honey never forms. Such is often the case with soul loss. The fragmentation and disappearance of soul pieces from the hive of the soul. Soul shards are like honeybees. They are a vast colony of individual expressions, intimately and intricately working together for a grand purpose, and that purpose is the ever-changing, ever-evolving development of the hive soul. As we go through life, occasionally we'll step out of center with true self and end up neglecting our primary function as beekeeper. Such negligence will leave the hive open to threat, whether it's spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, or sexual. Whether it's happening in the physical world or the spiritual world. And where there is threat, casualties are sure to follow. Just as bees have many predators, there are many ways in which soul loss can occur. Trauma to the physical body and the conscious mind is indeed trauma to the soul, and some things that may not seem so traumatizing on the surface can still prove to be traumatizing below it. This is especially true because we're not always so aware of the conditions of the soul, let alone what it requires as a whole versus what the egoic mind requires. In fact, the age in which we live in thrives on self-image, independence, the conscious mind, and externalized reality. And that focus has left the collective unconscious and internalized areas of the psyche, yet another word for soul, without its caretaker, us. Thus, the process of soul retrieval is about more than collecting and restoring soul pieces. It's about helping each person to resume their rightful position as beekeeper to their own hive soul. A fragmented soul is incomplete, and a soul without its colony is but an empty shell. In the end, we simply cannot function at optimal capacity without all our pieces intact. It would be no different from trying to run an interdependent business, like a warehouse, restaurant, or a retail store. If some employees are missing, the job may still get done, but not as efficiently as it would if they were present. And you might as well leave the shop closed if there are no employees available. Many times in life we try to do business with the externalized material world, without all the pieces of the internal, immaterial puzzle intact. We try to make life happen. If it's by finding love, creating pleasure, stability, our adventure, our art. If it's by socializing, enjoying our family, our friends, our children. If it's by fun activities like reading a book, taking a class, playing a game or an instrument, riding a bicycle, watching our favorite TV show. Or we could simply be focusing on work and career. Unfortunately, none of these pursuits will truly fill the void in the end. For in order for us to truly receive our experiences, we must be equipped to fully give ourselves to them. And how can that happen when we are not whole? And if that's not the worst of it, many of us grow up used to living a fragmented life. We grow up used to being incomplete, and in most cases, warped by foreign energies and entities, spiritual or physical, that do not and cannot truly align with our soul's original purpose, let alone serve it. In the end, it becomes part of who we are, which in most cases makes it that much harder to undo. Nothing and no one, whether they are living on the spiritual plane or the physical plane, should have sovereignty over your hive soul. Only you, the co-creator, and the great mysteries that guide us all should have that privilege. Therefore, Soul Retrieval is about removing those unwanted guests and restoring personal power so that we, as people, may have the tools necessary to experience life at full capacity once again.